Have you ever wondered how a king, someone born to rule, could suddenly step away from the throne? That's exactly what happened in 1936, when King Edward VIII abdicated after less than a year. His shocking decision sent shockwaves through British society and completely changed the course of royal history. Today, we're uncovering 15 little-known, sometimes jaw-dropping secrets behind Edward VIII's abdication. Secrets that reveal the tensions, sacrifices, and far-reaching consequences of this unprecedented moment in modern monarchy. Number 1. He nearly broke centuries of royal tradition. Edward VIII was the first British monarch ever to voluntarily abdicate the throne. Historically, kings and queens might have been deposed in coups or forced out by Parliament, but to walk away by choice? That was unheard of. Edward's main reason, as the official narrative goes, was his love for Wallis Simpson, an American divorcee. But behind that public story lay a monarchy unprepared for a king determined to follow personal desire over state duty. Some critics at the time labeled his actions selfish, others lauded him for following his heart. Number 2. The government feared a constitutional crisis far bigger than a royal romance. While the love affair with Wallis Simpson captured global headlines, British politicians had deeper concerns. Many believed Edward VIII lacked the temperament for kingship. He was perceived as impulsive, politically naive, and possibly sympathetic to extremist ideologies. Even before Wallis arrived on the scene, high-ranking officials worried about how Edward might handle crucial matters of state. When his relationship with a twice-divorced American woman became public, it was the perfect storm. Church leaders balked at a king who defied Anglican marital laws, and politicians braced for a legitimacy crisis. The fear was that Edward VIII's personal choices could destabilize the entire constitutional monarchy, a system that relies heavily on public trust and moral authority. Number 3. Wallis Simpson's divorce wasn't the only red flag. At the time of Edward's abdication crisis, Wallis Simpson was in the process of finalizing her second divorce. From a legal standpoint, she wasn't yet free to remarry. Moreover, the Church of England, which the monarch leads, explicitly opposed the idea of a sovereign marrying a divorcee whose previous spouses were still living. But beyond the religious complications, there were rumors Wallis had connections with influential figures in other countries, prompting whispers about potential security risks. British intelligence was reportedly uneasy about her international links, though hard evidence remains elusive. Nevertheless, it all added up to a scenario in which Edward's personal relationship collided violently with state concerns, making abdication appear the only escape hatch. Number 4. Edward's private disdain for endless ceremonial duties. In diaries and accounts from those close to him, Edward VIII often complained about the confining nature of royal protocol. Even before he became king, he chafed at the rigid schedules and endless public appearances. He felt the monarchy should be more in tune with ordinary people. Some aides found his perspective refreshingly modern, while others found it dangerously rebellious. His frustration grew once he was on the throne. Rumor has it he would skip official paperwork and show up late for key briefings. If you combine that restlessness with the scandal surrounding Wallis Simpson, it's no wonder Edward saw abdication as a chance to escape the gilded cage. That impulse to rewrite the monarchy's rulebook foreshadowed future debates about whether royals should be celebrities or stay behind a more traditional veneer. Number 5. A secret plan to marry Wallis as a morganatic spouse. At one point, Edward proposed a so-called morganatic marriage, meaning he'd wed Wallis, but she would never become queen. This arrangement exists in some European monarchies, allowing a royal to marry beneath his station without granting the spouse royal rank. However, the British government and Church of England rejected this idea outright. They argued that the British public wouldn't accept a king's wife having no official status, and, more importantly, that it skirted the fundamental issues of moral leadership. Edward's push for a compromise only deepened the standoff. Some supporters of the couple believed a morganatic marriage could have saved his reign. Critics say it would have muddled the lines of succession and risked a constitutional meltdown. Number 6. The behind-the-scenes pressure from the Dominion governments. The king wasn't just King of England. He was also monarch of the entire British Empire, which included Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and other dominions. Leaders from those countries had to be consulted under the Statute of Westminster, and most of them opposed Edward's plan to marry Wallis Simpson without abdicating. They believed it would undercut the moral and symbolic authority of the crown. Prime Minister Mackenzie, King of Canada, took a notably firm stance, arguing that the monarchy represented higher values than personal preference. This collective disapproval from the Dominions sealed Edward's fate, showing that the monarchy's international dimension could dictate the personal decisions of its occupant. Number 7. Rumored Nazi sympathies. Perhaps the most explosive claim about Edward VIII involves his alleged admiration for Hitler's Germany. While the extent of Edward's sympathies remains disputed, some historians point to his 1937 visit to Germany, after his abdication, during which he and Wallis were warmly received by Nazi officials. There are even suggestions he might have been a Nazi collaborator had he remained on the throne, though direct evidence is hotly debated. Still, the British government kept a wary eye on his activities in Europe, especially once World War II broke out. The possibility that a reigning monarch might sympathize with an enemy regime was a scandal of monumental proportions, and it casts a dark shadow over Edward's abdication story, hinting that political necessity might have motivated certain influential figures to speed his exit. Number 8. Churchill's secret attempts to delay matters. Winston Churchill, not yet Prime Minister but a prominent political figure, initially supported giving Edward more time to resolve the crisis. He hoped that the king and Wallis might find a solution short of abdication, perhaps by postponing the marriage or negotiating a middle ground. Churchill's motives have been debated. Some say he admired Edward's modernizing zeal, while others claim he saw an extended timeline as a way to guide Edward toward a more acceptable solution. In the end, these efforts collapsed under the weight of media leaks and governmental unity against the marriage. The fiasco arguably strained Churchill's relations with certain colleagues, showing how the abdication crisis transcended personal loyalties and risked fracturing British politics. Number 9. The orchestrated media blackout and its sudden collapse. While British newspapers largely kept a lid on the story out of deference to the monarchy, foreign outlets, especially those in the United States, were teeming with speculation about Edward's intentions to marry Wallis Simpson. Eventually, the news exploded into the British press when it became impossible to contain. This abrupt transition from near silence to deafening uproar heightened the sense of scandal. Many citizens felt blindsided, learning overnight that their king was prepared to leave the throne. The fiasco underscores how fragile the tacit agreements between the monarchy and the press can be, and how quickly they unravel when external forces come into play, an early example of the global media's growing power to drive public perception. Number 10. The monarchy's rush to secure the line of succession. Once it was clear Edward would abdicate, the focus turned to his brother, Albert, who would become George VI, and Albert's family, including a young Princess Elizabeth. The palace scrambled to position the new king as a stable alternative to the drama that Edward had embodied. Advisors worked overtime to craft an image of George VI as dutiful, sober, and family-oriented. This quick pivot helped restore public confidence, but also placed enormous pressure on George VI, who had never expected to ascend the throne. In retrospect, the monarchy's survival hinged on convincing the British public that the crown was bigger than one individual's desires, a narrative that continues to inform how the royals address personal crises today. Number 11. Edward's unusual financial settlement. After giving up the throne, Edward received a monetary settlement from the civil list, though negotiations were fraught and largely orchestrated by his brother, now George VI. Many details remain murky, but the arrangement allowed Edward and Wallis to live abroad, mostly in France. Critics at the time questioned why taxpayers should finance a former king who'd effectively abandoned his responsibilities. Defenders argued Edward had sacrificed his birthright out of love, and it was only fair he receive a comfortable pension. The entire episode revealed how monarchy-related finances can ignite public anger or confusion, something that future royals, like Harry and Meghan, would also experience in their own ways. Number 12. His new title, Duke of Windsor, came with strings attached. Though stripped of the throne, Edward was made Duke of Windsor. Yet, Wallis Simpson never became Her Royal Highness. King George VI refused to grant that courtesy, reflecting the family's enduring disapproval. Further conditions stipulated that the Duke and Duchess of Windsor shouldn't meddle in British politics or overshadow the new king's role. Many consider this title arrangement a half measure. It recognized Edward's royal status, but denied his wife full acceptance. In effect, it created a permanent reminder of the scandal. The Duke of Windsor spent much of his life feeling slighted, giving periodic interviews that either tried to justify his choices or hinted at lingering bitterness. Number 13. Post-abdication exiles and snubs. Edward and Wallis lived a glamorous life on the French Riviera, hosting parties frequented by celebrities, socialites, and occasionally shady characters. While they traveled widely, official invitations from Buckingham Palace were almost non-existent. The couple's rare visits to the UK were subdued, limited to private functions or funerals. This enforced distance from royal affairs underscored the monarchy's desire to keep Edward on the periphery. Some see it as punishment. Others view it as a necessary separation to maintain the monarchy's credibility. Either way, the Duke and Duchess lived as glittering exiles, often voicing frustration that Edward's family refused to fully embrace them again. Number 14. The continuing controversies during World War II. Even after his abdication, Edward's movements attracted scrutiny during the Second World War. Stationed as governor of the Bahamas, he faced allegations of mismanagement and persistent rumors about his pro-German leanings. While no definitive proof emerged of outright betrayal, the British government kept close tabs on him. Post-war, references to Edward's questionable associations were downplayed in official circles to avoid tarnishing the monarchy's image. This pattern echoes a broader theme, that Edward VIII's abdication might have spared the UK from a monarch whose loyalties were, at best, unclear in a time of global crisis. Number 15. Edward's abdication changed the monarchy forever. In the aftermath, the crown doubled down on tradition and duty, exemplified by George VI's stoic leadership during World War II and Queen Elizabeth II's lifetime of service. The monarchy learned to be more cautious in personal matters, keenly aware that the public expects moral leadership, not scandal. In the longer view, Edward's decision paved the way for the modern royals' approach to marriage, divorce, and independence, issues that have come to the forefront again with younger generations. So, there you have it. 15 shocking secrets behind Edward VIII's abdication. An event that rocked the British Empire and continues to shape discussions about monarchy, duty, and love. Which of these revelations surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this deep dive into royal history, don't forget to like and subscribe for more fascinating explorations of the world's most intriguing dynasties. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.